Well, all right. Well, we got 20 something. Okay. Let's get rolling. Appreciate y'all humping on. I'm only going to be on for a short time, 15, 20 minutes. I got some other stuff to do. And then Marvin will take over as the host and go over some things that we talked about on our crew chief meeting and some other. Aaron does have some clips as a backup plan, right, Aaron?
Backup, correct. Backup.
Yeah, we've been doing, just for some of y'all that know, we've been doing crew chief meetings every Sunday. We've done 7 of them. They've been really good, and we haven't really looked at plays. I think maybe 1 out of the 7 we actually looked at some plays, but it's been a really good discussion. Because when we get into plays, we start getting into judgment a little bit too much, and then other people don't really want to talk. So or if someone breaks down the play, everybody agrees with it, we press on. But in the conversations that we've had, it's been good to hear from a lot of different folks. And those have been highly productive. So hopefully we'll try to do that. Once I get off, hopefully y'all guys continue to talk and not get into clips, but that will be a backup plan. We had the discussion on the Sunday meeting was timing. And it was an interesting discussion because we had some different maybe opinions or maybe not opinions, understanding on timing. And it came down to when can we put time on the clock and when can we take time off and when can we not? So before I get started, I can't see a lot of you, so I'm going to trust you. I'm going to be a really good partner and trust you that you will not open up your casebook or your rules book or your rules by topic and just try to go on what you would do in the game, because that's the way we get better. And don't feel bad to say, hey, this is what I would do. I don't know if that's right. And if it's right or wrong, that's okay, because we don't have the rule book there at the table. Well, if you're a Blossom, you do, but we should know these. So it always comes down to our timing situations. I'll get into some verbiage later that can help us, but I'll give the case. I'll give a scenario. Some of them out of the case book, some I've made up. And I don't know if I want to call on people or not. Maybe, yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to call on one person, and then you'll take first crack at it, and then we'll go from there. So my first suspect is going to be Joe Trujillo. Sorry, you're first on my screen, man.
Hey, Mark, let me say something real quick to some of the folks that weren't there Sunday. Even the rules guy would do something different than the rule.
Who's the rules guy? Who's our rules interpreter?
Well, it was the guy that would have did something different than the rules.
Yeah, that was yeah.
on play number 1. I know what the rule was, but I told you this is what I would do.
Right. Okay,
yeah, so which is against
the rule book, right? So, all right, Joe, you got the first one. I'll go slow, and you can ask any questions, and then we'll dive in, and anybody else can take it. So, first one, okay. Team A is up by 2 points, and there's 12 seconds left in the game. Okay, so up by 12. Up by 2, 12 seconds left. It's after a made basket. Team B calls a timeout. Nobody has any timeouts left, but we're coming out of a timeout. All right. This is what happens. Team A inbounds the ball and dribbles in their backcourt. Never gets front court status. Stays in the backcourt. Maybe they're dribbling, they're passing it, whatever. And the clock runs out. The horn goes. Zeros on the clock. What are we doing? Again, 2-point ball game. Team A is up. 12 seconds on the clock. The inbounds is legally touched. They inbound the ball, and the clock runs out. What are you doing?
So the clock started, and the game was over.
Started properly.
So we're coming out of a timeout, and nobody has any timeouts left.
Correct. They throw the ball. 12 seconds left in the game, and they never get the ball in the front court.
Oh, so then, yeah. Well, the trail should have his 10-second count going, and then if we have to, we're going to use that as to reset the time. So we would reset it to 2 seconds.
Okay, so you're going to turn the ball. You're going to have a backcourt count violation, even though the trail referee never had one. But you're going by the clock was 12 seconds. We know that 10 seconds came off. 2 seconds back on the clock, and give the ball to Team B.
Yes, with 2 seconds on the clock.
Okay. Anybody got anything different?
Don't anybody that was on Sunday answer this.
Yeah, if you're on Sunday, you can't answer it because we went over this one. Anybody have something different? So they're saying, or Joe is saying, there's going to be a 10-second back violation because we know the clock was at 12. Now it ran out. Obviously, 12 seconds came off. We should have had a backcourt violation with 2 seconds. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to turn it over, put 2 seconds back on the clock, and give the ball to Team B. So everybody's rolling with that. That's what we're saying?
No, did the trail actually have a violation?
No, they didn't call it a violation. Their count was either they stopped their count or it was just super slow, like a really slow count.
Hey, Mark, can I get in?
Hey, Mark, I think you got to go with what Trail had. You know, his 10 seconds is his 10 seconds. Since in high school, we're not running off of the clock itself. You got to go with what he did. Now, if you were to go to Trail and say, did you have 10 seconds? And he said he definitely had the 10-second count. That's another story. But to go off the clock, we don't do that. You go off of the Trail's 10-second count. So whatever he had, if he didn't have his 10 seconds, I think you got to go with that.
Okay, so you're saying it's ball game over.
Yeah, if he didn't have his 10-second count.
All right, those two, there it is right there. So there's the two answers, either A or B. A would be turnover, 2 seconds back on the clock. B would be what Brad said, ball game over. Put it in the chat, A or B. Go for it. Let's see where we're at on this.
Hey, Mark, can I get in?
I was going to say that's the third option, right?
What would the third option be?
Let Reggie go. Reggie, do you have a third option? Because if not, I have a third option.
I don't have a third option, but I would like to interject that when we have it's not a timing error, so it doesn't fall under correctable errors. So I'd go with plan with B, that the ball game is over. The Trail did not have a count. The Trail did not have a count. There is no. I'd go with B. I don't see how you can correct that.
Okay, put B in the chat. Aaron, you have another one? You have a third situation?
So we are saying the trail does have a count, though. It's just
There's no violation. They have a count. They just don't call violation. They may, for whatever reason, it's not at 10 seconds. Could be at 9. It's just slow. Maybe they stopped their count. I don't know.
okay.
Don't.
Well, so if they did have a count, then we could have had a timing error. They could have either started too soon, which probably is what happened. So if none of my crew saw, like, hey, did we start on time? Or if I'm in the trail and I know, no, I had a good count and it started correctly, then I know we're putting time back on the clock. Like, that's a timing error. There's no way that's 4 seconds.
I agree with that, Aaron. I didn't hear that the Trail had a count. I totally agree with what Aaron said.
Okay, so what changes if the Trail has a count? The clock started properly. It started correctly. It started when it was supposed to. So we're saying
That's what I'm asking. Do we know definitively it started? That's what I'm asking. Because if I know I chopped it and I have a count and I'm keeping my count and I'm at 8 and the horn goes off, I'm like, we just came out of timeout and had 12. I chopped when they touched, had my count, never lost, and then all of a sudden the horn goes off, then I know they probably started early.
right. You have definite lines on your account, is what you're saying.
Yeah, and then we're putting time back on.
Got you. Okay. No, in this situation, the clock started properly. It was legally touched. Everything's correct. No throwing violation. So A or B.
Yeah.
We only got 5 answers. What we got? A or B?
I already forgot what it was. A was
Violation. A is a violation. We're going to turn it over, put 2 seconds back on the clock. B is ball game is over.
But A was violation even though you didn't blow a violation.
Correct. We're saying because the clock was we knew 12 seconds on the clock and it ran out. How can we have a backcourt violation when we know that it should have been 10 seconds? We're like half and half. Interesting. Okay. I hate this rule, by the way. I hate it. We're going on Brad Lockhart, correct. Reggie, correct. We're going on B, which is the ball game is over. It's page 46. It's situation 510-1B. And I'll read it real quick. Just the kind of the main point on it is that it's on the count of the trail. So it says the clock may not be reset as there was no rule provisions to do so. if the count was not accurate or was not made, it cannot be corrected. There is no provisions for the correction of error made in the official's accuracy in counting seconds. So in that situation, ball game's over. It would be obviously a conversation we'd have in the locker room, but we got to have definite knowledge coming out of that timeout. We need to talk and say, hey, there's 12 seconds on the clock. I would still use that clock to help. What happens is, especially late in the game, that we speed up or we slow down based on what's going on in the backcourt, right? If there's traps or whatever, or we forget our count, could have been a tip and we don't count anymore. So those are conversations we got to have. I don't particularly like this rule, but it is what it is. It's not, you can't correct it. There was nothing wrong with the clock. It started correctly. We can't change the count, because if you do that, then you're going to what? You're going to do a 5-second count based on the clock, right? You've got a really slow count. You look at the clock and 6 seconds came off. I'm not going to go by that. So it's a similar concept. We can't do it. Interesting one. We're 50-50. I knew we would. We had some discussions as far as our meeting on Sunday as well, and that was it. All right, next one. Let's go with let's see here. Let's go with Jared. What's up, dude? You can hear me okay? Thumbs up. All right, Jared. All right, you got the next play, okay? Next one is Team B scores with 5 seconds in the game, and they're down 2 points. No one has timeouts, okay? Team A decides not to throw the ball in and hold it. So put it like this. 5 seconds in the game, the ball goes through the basket, and there's 4 seconds on the clock. So they don't have to take the ball. They don't have to throw the ball in, because the clock would continue to run, right? So here's what happens, all right? The official sounds the whistle, and there's 3 different situations. So I'll give you the first one, okay? As soon as the ball goes through the hoop, the clock operator stops the clock. And we know it's supposed to run, but the ball goes through the hoop, and then you look up, and the clock has 4 seconds, and the clock is stopped. The crew, doesn't matter who it is, immediately blows your whistle. What are we doing? That was kind of the easiest one first. What are you doing in that situation, Jared?
Well, since the clock is stopped because of an erroneous error, you can't come back and start it. You know, you can't go back into play and say, okay, just start the clock. We're going to give them the ball. They don't have to, inbound it. But, the thing that stops the clock is what? The whistle, right? So anytime the whistle's blown, the clock stops.
Okay. So how do you resume play?
Well, we're going to come back. We have to give them the ball to throw in, run the end line, and they're going to have to throw the ball in now.
Okay.
That's what's going to happen.
All right. That one's pretty straightforward one. Okay, correct. All right. Here it gets a little tougher. The same situation. The clock is stopped at 4 seconds. Okay. You're the new trail, Jared, and you go 1, 2, 3. You have 3-second count on your 5 second. Then you look up and you notice that 4 seconds, and then you blow your whistle. Same situation. Are we doing the same, or what are we doing?
So the clock is stopped after the made basket. Same situation, but the clock actually stops, and I'm counting 1001.
You get to 3, and then you realize the clock has stopped. So the crew does. So the first one was immediately. You caught it immediately. This one, you don't catch it till you've got 3 seconds on your inbound.
Yeah. Well, if I look up and I see that the clock isn't running and I blow my whistle, it's the same result. I'm still going to have to call it dead, put the clock at 2 seconds, because I've already counted 3, and put the clock at 2 seconds, and they're still going to have to inbound the ball, get the baseline, and throw it in. If at any time any official blows their whistle in a situation like this and we kill it, that clock is now stopped. It doesn't matter. We can't go back in time, right? So,
Jared, your math is off.
Yeah, it is, but that's okay. 4. So you're saying you'd say 1 second, right? You're saying 4 minus
3. Right. So if I'm counting, yeah, that I thought I heard you say that there was 4 seconds on the clock. So
1. Okay, good though. All right. Yeah. So Jared's saying that we killed it. We have knowledge that we had a 3-second count on the throw-in. That's definite knowledge. We're going to put 1 second on the clock, bring it back, allow them to run the end line. Anybody got anything different? Everybody agrees with it?
I don't have anything different. I'm just wondering, can we just keep the count going? And then when you get to your 5 seconds or 4 seconds and the clock should be done, blow your whistle, game over. You got a question about why the clock wasn't run. I already had my count. It's over.
That's the next one. The last one is you catch it on your 5 second count. So you beat me to it. What are we doing, Mike?
Ball game.
Okay, ball game. Okay. Interesting, right? So all those, first one, you kill it immediately. You notice it immediately. Sorry, you don't kill it. You notice immediately that it stopped. That kind of hurts us based on that. Now there's 4 seconds on the clock. If you start your count and you count through 5, well, it's going to be the end of the ball game as well. Obviously, we want the clock to continue to run, but it happens. It happens quite often all the time that the scorekeeper will stop it on a made basket under a minute when we shouldn't. And understand they don't have timeouts. Okay, last one, and I'm going to jump off. All right, this one's a similar situation that I went through, okay? So ball goes through the basket, 4.5 seconds on the clock, okay? The clock continues to run like it's supposed to. So the clock is running. We're under 5 seconds. No team has timeouts, all right? So let's just say the home team, Team A, is bringing the ball in. Team B, the away team, just scored. They're down 2 points, okay? No one has any timeouts left. The coach for Team A is saying, do not bring the ball in, just to that effect. We're not bringing the ball in, 4.5 seconds left. And then the player from the Team B, is trying to get them to bring the ball in, so he throws it against the pad, and it rolls away. So he throws it against the pad, and the ball runs all the way on the baseline. What are we doing in that situation? And I'm going to give it to Farron. You got it. Farron, do you hear it?
Yeah, it's kind of chopping up a little bit. I heard something about you throwing the ball in and it ran against the baseline. The ball ran against the end line or something like that.
Okay, so the situation is, Team B is down 2 points. They're down 5. They shoot a 3. Ball goes through the basket. They're down 2 now. No one has any timeouts left. The clock's continuing to run, and the Team A decides not to bring the ball in. They don't want to bring the ball in. They're not going to touch it, right? The coach is telling them don't bring the ball in because it's under 5 seconds. Well, the Team B throws the ball against the pad, and it rolls off on the baseline. What are you doing? You're the new trail.
Ooh.
I know you know the answer, Reggie, because it happened to me in the game.
I feel like if it was in any other part of the game, I would issue a delay of game warning on that.
Okay.
So I don't know necessarily. I wouldn't have any reason to, I guess, change that. Unfortunately, we got to kill it again. Same situation. We got to kill it, and it in a way hurts the team that was up. But that's hearing it first time. That would be my first thought.
Okay. Anybody got anything? And then Reggie and Trez, you can't answer it because I know you're right. Anybody something different? Okay, because I have the answer here. But anybody got anything different from a delay? Okay, or who would do a delay game? Who would do a delay game for a kid getting the ball, throwing it against the pad, and it rolls all the way to the corner? This is a very interesting situation. I called 20 referees after the game, and every single one of them told me delay a game. Just like you said, Farron, right? Any other part in the game, we're going delay a game. If a kid does that, we're going delay a game, okay? So I know everybody on here is like telling me I got it. I know they didn't know it back then. I know they didn't because nobody did. I talked to everybody. It's a really weird play, and you can't find it. No, Reggie, I know you know. And everyone's telling me,
did I tell you that initially?
Yes. You told me delay a game. Everybody did. There wasn't one person that told me delay a game because it took me so long to find it on it, and it's not in the rule book, it's not in the case play. It's in this. Rules by topic, okay? And I'm going to read it to you. It says, and it's in the comments too. It's not even a rule. It's in the comments under, I can't remember the section it's under. In situations with the clock running, and I'm just going to do this instead. Everybody can see it. I'm able to share it right here. So
9-2-10.
9-2-10, okay. So in situations with the clock running and 5 or less seconds left in the game, a throw-in, play in violation, interfering with the ball, following a goal should be ignored if its only purpose is to stop the clock, which it is. They have no timeouts. All they're trying to do is stop the clock. And it says, however, if the tactic in any way interferes with the thrower efforts to make a throw-in, a technical foul for delay game shall be called, even though there's no previous warnings have been issued. In this situation, if the official stops the clock and issues a team warning, it would allow the team to benefit from this tactic. And you kind of touched on that, Farron. You were like, delay game, it's kind of stopping the clock for them. It kind of becoming an advantage, okay? We went delay game. We did. We went delay game. I was on the baseline. I'd never seen it before. I didn't know what to do. I looked at my center referee. We kind of looked, and it just didn't seem right. The ball rolled off, and we killed it with 1.5 on the clock. And then we ended up putting the ball back in at 1.5. Luckily, the game, they brought the ball in. They didn't even foul. We were done. We were good. We were kind of fortunate about it. What I did talk to both coaches that for several days about it, that the team that I gave the delay game to, right, believes that I should have done it earlier. Right, because the ball hit the pad and rolled, and I'm like, I don't know what to do, right? I sent this to him. He had no idea. I was like, oh, wow, okay, didn't know that. Then he said, well, I think it was 6.5 seconds. No, it was clearly under 5 seconds, so that wasn't it. I also talked to the other team coach and said, hey, I think some advice for you is to bring the ball in. Like, have your kid grab the ball, take it out of bounds, and just hold it. Because then what do they have to do to get the ball? They got to come through the plane. They got to hit. They got to make contact. They got to do that. Then we got technical fouls and those type things. But by rule, that team doesn't even have to take the ball out of bounds. So I mean, he said, okay, I got it. But by rule, you don't have to take that ball under 5 seconds. You don't have to take that ball out of bounds. Now, what did happen? I want to add this layer to it, and I'm gonna jump off. Is a kid actually kicked the ball. The kid kicked the ball, it rolled, and the kid kicked it against the wall, not real hard, and that's when I killed it for delay game. A lot of people said we should go technical foul on that. But then it goes back to the point, me and Kenny said, no, you don't go technical foul, you just let the game run out. That's a hard one, though, because Frank was like, no, that's an unsporting act. Absolutely. But why are they going technical? Why is he kicking the ball? Why is he going technical foul? To stop the clock. That's why he's doing it. So let's say you give a technical foul, 2-point game, and we know basketball, worse things can happen and crazy stuff can happen. So then they shoot 2 free throws, they miss both. Then we bring the ball out of bounds, we have a 5-second violation. Now the team gets a turnover, they hit a 3. Based on us killing the clock on a technical foul when the tactic was to do what? Stop the clock. So I had no idea about it, and I know, and I can't say everybody, but it's a really weird play, and I know it's weird because everybody said what Farron would do.
I got a question for you, Mark.
Yeah, go ahead.
And it's in 2 parts. Okay, the first scenario is now that everybody knows the answer to the game, to that situation.
Yeah.
Let's say, and you kind of brought it up a little bit, that the team is trying to throw the ball in or has the ball. It's still the same time scenario, and the guy violates. Okay, the guy violates. That's number one. Okay. The defense violates. That's number one. Number 2 is that the official reacts and blows the whistle.
You inverted whistle, you said?
No, the official reacts to the violation.
Okay.
And blows the whistle. And in A, what do you do? And in B, what do you do?
Okay. So you're saying we have team A takes the ball out of bounds, like I said earlier, right? They take the ball out of bounds, and you said that there's a plain violation.
Yeah. They know that they need to stop the clock, right? They want to stop the clock, and they go ahead and commit that violation.
Yeah. It's technical foul.
Huh?
Technical foul.
Technical foul?
No, Reggie, I agree. It's I disagree. It's same result.
Exactly. It's the same result. Same intent, same result. You ignore it.
Come on, Mark.
If you put, I want to say, if you put the hand, if they make contact with the kid, I think you
I
got
didn't
to
say
automatically.
I didn't say contact.
Oh, so you're just saying they just break the plane where it would just be a normal
break
delay
the
of game.
plane. They break the plane to try to stop the clock.
Okay. It says, no, okay, I thought you meant interfere with the thrower because it says if any tactic, any way with the thrower's effort to make a throw in. So you're saying this doesn't affect the thrower in at all. That's what you're saying?
No, they're trying to stop the clock.
That is nothing. Same thing. If the only tactic is to stop the clock and they're not interfering with the thrower in, you got absolutely nothing. Right.
Okay, now give me the B scenario.
Okay, B scenario.
Where you react to it.
So I react to boom. Okay.
You hit the whistle. You will hit the whistle, and the clock stops. What do we do?
Game time. Inadvertent.
Oh, game time. Stop the clock on your whistle. So whatever the clock is at, 1.5 on the clock, that's it. And if it's a throw-in, if you have a throw-in violation and it's not the first, if it's the first one, you have a delay of game. If it's the second one, then you got technical foul.
Okay, I disagree with that.
Okay.
Me too.
And the reason why I disagree with it because I'm backed up by the rule. If the intent is to stop the clock, right, it's still the same rule. Even though I react to it by blowing a whistle, it still falls under the same rule.
Right.
The ball game's over.
Based on but you blew the whistle, the clock the clock stops. There's no way. You stop the clock by your whistle. You can't just say, all right, never mind. So there's 1.5 on the clock. You're gonna say,
I'm not saying never mind. I'm saying I got a rule to back me.
What's the rule, Reggie?
You just read it.
No. It doesn't say if you blow the whistle to stop the clock that you're going to ignore the whistle. It says you're going to ignore the fact that they're trying to delay the game. On your first scenario, we don't blow the whistle. The second one, you blow your whistle. You can't ignore the whistle. There's no way.
Oh, okay, we're going to table that one.
Okay. Anybody got anything different? That's a good one, though, Reggie. I don't
know
how you can, if I kill it with 1.5 like I did. So in my
yes.
1.5. You're saying I can be back by the rule and say, you know what? Never mind. Ball game.
Yes.
I believe you can if they're not trying to throw the ball in, they're trying to end the game. I think that rule covers you.
Okay. Interesting. Anybody got any different?
That's a good one.
Yeah, you may be right.
He might be right. But we got time left on the clock. Now we're going to end the game with time left. That's a huge story to tell at the table with the two coaches.
I'm calling you, Marvin, after the game.
Oh boy, you better. That's a good one. I gotta jump off, but yeah, Reggie, that's a really good one.
Yeah.
I'm gonna dive into that one too. And you got the rules guy in here somewhere. He should better figure it out.
All right, man.
Well, no, hang on. Before you go, the problem is you don't have a rule to back you up. You have a note in a secondary book published by National Federation.
Hey, it's recording, right, Aaron? It's going. Okay, good. Send it to me later. I'll put it on YouTube. All right, y'all keep diving in. I appreciate you guys. I'll get with you guys.
All right, so Mark's gone. Without Aaron showing any backup film, I'm going to go to James Young first because I know James has a question, and we can all help him answer that. So go for it, James.
All right, case book, page 35, 4-41-2. Now, I bring this one up because two-man crews in middle school, definitely we've had games where a player has shot the ball at the wrong basket. So the way I understood, before I go to the rule itself, or the case itself, the way I understand it is if a kid intercepts, let's say a kid takes the ball and he throws it in, his teammate, instead of running at the other end to try to score, he turns around and shoots at his opponent's basket and he scores. The way I understood that rule, or the way I understood that incident is that basket counts for the opposing team. Yes or no? Am I right on that?
You're right on that.
Okay, so the rule book on page 35 says that if that happens again, say it happened that way, but this time there's actually a kid guarding him, and the kid fouls him while he shoots the ball and the ball goes in, the case says that the basket does not count because what was the reason? It was considered.
Now, to have a shot, James, to shoot basketball, for it to be a shot, you have to shoot it at your own basket.
Right.
So it wouldn't be a shot. Even if it went in, you would wipe it off and you'd have a common foul. And you may shoot the bonus somewhere to have free throws. Otherwise, it's just a common foul. You put the ball on the end line to the right team to bring it in, and you continue play from there.
Okay, so if he shoots at the wrong basket and it goes in, the points count for that other team. If he shoots the ball and he's fouled and it goes in, the ball does not count. The basket does not count. And if the team is in the bonus 1-on-1 or 2 shots, he can go shoot those at his basket at the other end if he was fouled.
Everybody correct on that?
That's what it reads in the case book. I've had at least two games last year where I had kids shoot the wrong basket. But I've never had a kid get guarded and fouled and score at the opponent's basket. So when I read that, that was interesting, that the basket will not count. And that.
But I think the basket doesn't count, James, because the foul occurred before the ball. It's not that he's shooting at the wrong basket. It's that the foul occurred, right? So just think of it that way. So now we killed it. It didn't matter. So if he got fouled somewhere else on the floor, it would go out of bounds or 1-on-1.
And Kenny's correct, but you can't, when you're shooting at the other team's basket, it's not counted as a shot.
Right, it's not considered as a try for basket.
You can't count the basket because it's really not a shot.
Kenny, I think what he's saying, it was tough, and I had to even think about this one. What if it's during a shot?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that. What if it's a layup and they foul him on
Yeah, that's what he's saying.
The case book says it's not a basket.
Correct.
That's correct. It's not a basket because it's not a shot.
By definition, it's not a try.
Definition, it's not a shot. The only way you can have a shot is while shooting at your own basket, not the opposing team's basket.
Ah.
So you're not protected as a shooter because
Correct.
you're not on a try by definition of a try.
Well, you're not a shooter then, in what you're saying.
Correct. At the
Because in
opposing basket.
Because in that case book, it says that it is not a try.
If we go to page 40 in the rule book, Article 2, a try for field goal is an attempt by a player to score 2 or 3 points by throwing the ball into a team's own basket.
Correct.
So Marvin.
Okay.
Yeah, Marvin's right on. Okay. So it's page 40, Rule 4, Section 41, Article 2. Okay,
Good
Jim?
job, Marvin.
Yeah, that's good. Okay. That's how I read it. I just want to confirm it. Just because you see that in middle school a lot, you'll see that kid, get disoriented or whatever, and he shoots one. Like I said, I've never had one where a kid got fouled, but while in the act of shooting at an opponent's basket. But that was interesting when I read that. I got a couple others, and then I guess I'm done. I just want to confirm that anytime there is a change of possession arrow, okay, and I've read this, and I forget which it was on the case book, but anyway, anytime there's a change of possession arrow, the other team is now throwing the ball in. Let's say Team A is throwing the ball in, and Team B sticks his leg out. He kicks the ball. Okay, we got a blown whistle, right? Illegal use of the foot. We come back and we throw it in again. Team A was throwing the ball in. Team A does not lose the possession arrow once the ball is thrown in. Correct? Now, is that true for any sort? Like, let's just say there's let's say a kid's guarding the ball. B player's guarding the ball out of bounds. A's throwing it in, and his hand breaks the plane. We blow a whistle, and we give a warning. He didn't touch the ball or anything, but we gave him a warning, and now the ball's thrown in. Does the possession arrow still stay with A in that situation? Does that make sense? Or is it only with the foot? Like if there's any sort of let's just say
you're saying any violation, right?
Right, any violation. Whether it's a warning or whether it's a technical foul or whatever. Let's say he reaches across and he touches the ball. Okay, so now we got a technical. Okay, so we're going to shoot the technical. They're going to keep, and they're going to get the ball, but the possession arrow still stays in their favor, correct?
Go ahead, Frank.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Frank.
I'm a little confused on James, what you're trying to describe.
Here, let me
Yes.
try to, let me help. So so what he's saying is we have, the reason it's not only in a kickball, the ball
Right.
has to be legally touched.
Legally touched in bounds.
Before that, the arrow can be changed.
Inbounds, okay.
Correct.
Mhm.
It has
So
to be
if you had
legally touched.
So if you had a technical foul, you're right, we wouldn't change it. We'd come back, we'd give them the technical, and then they get the ball back at the midcourt. But I think that's a great point with the delay. I think the delay, that's not a violation. So now when
Correct.
they inbound, they're good. I'm not sure of, but
Correct.
that's how I'm
But,
thinking.
but the key is legally touched. And Kenny, I'm glad you, because I was going to go back and explain through it. I apologize, my camera, my cheap ass computer. But I was trying to figure.
But on a throw in, when there's any violation, that the succeeding throw in is because of the violation.
Correct.
Therefore, the possession arrow would not change.
Right. Is that
But
answer
what
your
about,
question, James?
but what about the delay?
It's a warning, not a violation.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking, but I'm not sure.
And it would be the same on the dead ball foul too. If they fouled them before the ball came in because it was illegally touched, correct?
Yeah, that's correct.
Correct.
The possession arrow would not change.
Correct.
So they throw the ball, 18 throws the ball in after all that, and here we go, and A still keeps the possession arrow. Okay, because I saw this, something like this at Northside, I think last year, and I was wondering why the possession, and then the coach was upset, and I didn't forget he was officiating it, but he couldn't understand why he didn't get the possession arrow, and it was something like that. So I just want to confirm that.
And James, and the when you talked about illegally kicked, that is a case book play on page 36. I had that. That is a case book play when you give the example of the kick, and then
Yeah.
it talks about the contact. It was not contacted legally.
442.5. Yeah.
Right. The throw in has not ended. Therefore, the arrow remains with Team A for the next alternate possession.
Right.
So that was the one that you were outlining.
Right.
And you bring up another good point. When that happens, you want to make either some kind of, you want to communicate with the table that there's no change of possession. That would have probably helped the coach to go, okay, that guy knows, I may not agree with him, but he obviously knows what he's talking about because he's letting what happens is that we don't say anything. He sees the ball come in play. Then the next time you go, hey, they just had it last time. So let's communicate at that point.
Yep.
Hey, let me get in real quick and try to answer I think the question was, and correct me if I'm wrong, was the question if the guy violates the play, does possession arrow status changes or anything? Was that the question?
Yeah, we said no because there wasn't any inbound contact. Is that what we said?
No. My question is, okay.
You're referring to the delay. If it's just delay,
Right.
I think is the one we were referring to.
Yeah,
Right.
It was a warning.
There you go. It's a warning. So when that ball is legally thrown in, right after that scenario, when that ball is legally thrown in, the possession arrow changes.
Change it. Yeah. Okay.
That's what I wanted to get to.
Okay.
So illegally touching the ball on the throw in is different than that's the one on technical foul retaining with the offense. Those are the situations that the possession arrow doesn't change. Does that make sense?
Correct.
Yeah, basically what you're saying, Reggie, is on the warning. We put the warning down and then we start to throw in again, but it's a throw in again.
Right, and a caveat to that is that if he violates again, right, and then there's a technical, then the possession arrow doesn't change.
Correct.
Okay,
Right.
I just wanted to make sure everybody understood that.
Okay, I didn't know that. All right.
One of the things that you may want to think about is when you get the ball for a throw-in, you have to have the opportunity to complete the throw-in. If it's any interruption beyond that, kicking the ball, a delay, a technical foul, or whatever, you haven't had, as the possessor of the thrower, of the throw-in, you haven't had the opportunity to complete. Somebody else did something else, the arrow stays the same way. You go do your business, boom, then put the ball back into play.
Okay.
Got another one, James?
There was so if, let's say that we got a dead ball and we got a player coming in from the table and we're gonna beckon him in, okay? So he's coming in for another player. Let's say the other player is on the other side of the floor and he knows he's coming out, so he's heading toward the bench, but he's still on the far side of the court. And let's just say he jaws some words at an official, he cusses, right? So we have a technical, all right? Now, because he's going to the bench, this is how I'm reading it, right? So if he's going to the bench, if he's coming out of the game, he's going to the bench, then that's also an indirect technical to the coach on the bench, correct?
Maybe.
Okay.
So when does the player become bench personnel?
Well, the way the book described it, it was as if he's coming off the floor, heading to the bench, he becomes bench personnel, even though he's not at the bench yet. No, he's coming out of the game, he turns and he says something to an official. We got a technical. So I got to see where that was at.
Why is he coming out of the game? What did he do?
Well, he's just being subbed. Okay, so he's his kid's coming in for him.
Have you beckoned the sub in already?
Yeah, beckoned the sub in. He's heading to the bench, turns and he cusses at the official. We got a technical. So then, because he's going to the bench, the way I read it, it's also an indirect technical to the coach.
Correct.
I don't know. Has anybody ever had that happen?
As long as you have reported the foul or whatever, or the sub, and have beckoned the sub onto the floor, now he becomes bench personnel. So at that time with a technical foul, it would be indirect to the coach as well.
Right.
But how do we know that the subs that are coming in for him just because he's walking off the floor? I mean, isn't he? I mean, if you catch on a grip, I mean that's
yeah. Yeah, you got to make that call. I mean, he's the only one heading to the bench. I guess that would be enough reason there, But
I guess, yeah.
Mike, you could ask. You could either ask the table or you could ask the coach. If you're that unsure, but I think the way James laid it out, he was now off the court, walking out the boundary of the playing court towards the bench. So I think you got to kind of play that. It's a technical, but the question is it a player technical or is it a bench technical with the secondary with the indirect to the coach? So you as a crew do need to know what the status of players are at all times. We talk about that even during timeouts. If 3 people are coming in during a timeout or during a dead ball situation, 3 in, 3 out, and know what the status is, because it becomes even more important if something breaks out on whether or not they're a player or bench personnel.
James, if I might add, the scenario that you gave said the player was, say, across the court. Too many times officials try and rush the substitution. It's going to be more obvious in the scenario that you gave if that kid saunters along and goes over to his bench by taking the longest way possible. It's going to be totally obvious that he said something, and he's stupid. He's going to have more eyes on him. Right? So in that case, the official might have been too fast. Okay. On other substitutions, you know, again, that's something that should be talked about before. I got 3 going in, I got 3 coming out. And somebody has to be watching the substitutions. Okay, thank you.
Yeah. You also have a case where, let's just say the player coming into the game, you beckon him in, he comes in, he says something to an opposing player, you heard it, it was language, you call technical on him. That would be on the floor. There would not be an indirect to the bench because he was on the floor coming in the game. That's how I read it.
That would be correct. He entered the floor legally because he was beckoned in by an official and he met all the parameters of being beckoned in legally. Then he becomes a player. Then whoever, there's a transition. Now the other one becomes a substitute or a bench personnel.
Correct.
So yes, you're correct.
And if it's an indirect to the coach, then he's lost his coaching box privileges. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. All right.
One thing I did read, it was interesting. It was just a minor thing, but I never realized it was the one where if let's say a player is rolling the ball to his teammate, and instead of picking the ball up, he puts his foot on top of the ball, picks it up, and then starts to dribble. Well, I think just putting your foot on top of the ball, stopping, and then picking it up. I read that is a violation. Didn't know that. Did y'all know that? I mean. Okay. I got nothing else.
All right. Thanks, James.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay. Anybody got anything they want to discuss? Rules? We got 31 people on here. Somebody's probably got a question about something they want clarified.
The rules test is out, so if anybody wants to jump on, it's as of today, it's out.
All right.
Do we have any coaches on this meeting?
No.
Coach Jackledge is not on?
If not, Marvin, I do have a film.
Yeah, Bobby. Yeah, he's on there. Bobby's on there.
Maybe he has.
I had a quick scenario that happened. We were just talking about subs, and it brought it to my mind. We had a sub at the table for the shooter. I'm sorry, not for the shooter. It was just a sub that came on late before the last free throw was shot. So he wasn't able to make his normal sub before the last shot was taken. So he comes up as he's shooting his last free throw, and the free throw is missed, but the official beckons the sub onto the floor erroneously. And so we go down. The only people that are aware, I guess, that we have 6 players on the court, it comes to everybody's mind once we have a play in stoppage, because it's basically you have a missed free throw and it's like boom, we're in transition. So nobody picks up that the 6th player was beckoned onto the floor by the old trail going to be the new lead, and then when we have a stoppage in play, 6 players are now noticed on the court. This particular crew took the onus and did not penalize that team for having an illegal participation, because they felt that the player was called onto the court by the official. They put the onus on themselves and did not issue a technical foul for illegal participation on that. I was told that was completely wrong, that they should have still issued, even though the player was told by the official to come onto the court erroneously, that technical foul should still have been issued to the player for illegal participation.
Anybody?
That's it.
What you got, Kenny?
I agree with what they did in the spirit of the rule, right? There's no advantage gain. That the kid didn't make the mistake. The official made the mistake. So I don't think, I hear what they're saying. It's wrong by rule, but remember, we have the spirit of the rule. What was the intent of that rule? The intent of that rule is not to have an advantage over the other person, and they didn't create that advantage. The officials, screwed it up and created that disadvantage. So I'm gonna err with what those guys did.
Hey, Kenny,
Yeah.
I am in somewhat agreement with you. By rule, just for the person that's asking the question, by rule, because he's participating in probably the whole offensive play, by rule is a technical foul. Now,
yeah, I agree.
now we're saying that if I am the administrating or the official that is calling the substitute in, right, and then I recognize that the free throw was missed and I was made a mistake, I immediately hit the whistle and stop the play to avoid the situation where where my crew has to call a technical foul. If you stop the play immediately, then you can avoid all of that from happening. Does that make sense, Kenny?
Oh, definitely. I agree. I'm not saying what the crew. I'm just saying what the crew did is probably what I would have done. But also, on top of that, to let the coach know, if that kid had made it off the floor before, because that happens a lot, they'll make it off the floor before we notice. It's not a technical foul.
If they run out of play real quick.
Correct.
And then the other caveat to that, Kenny, is if I see him running off the court and we haven't blown
who
yet,
hasn't come off, right?
I haven't seen anything.
Yeah, I kind of concur with all of that, but like Reggie said, by rule, it would be a technical foul to have 6 players on the court, but the officials put the team and that player in jeopardy by beckoning them on the floor doing a live ball when they should not have. And like Kenny said, once I recognize it, hopefully he don't get a part of the play, make a shot or something to where we're forced to call a technical foul. But if he really doesn't impact that part of play, we could stop it, get him off the court, and be ready to explain it. So I agree with that.
So Kenny and Marvin, how would you handle the situation if the coach was belligerent and since it's by rule, he wants you to make sure we're going by the rules? I'm just asking. How would you handle it?
That's exactly what happened, Kenny. The coach that
no doubt
awarded the 2 free throws. He went. They had just went on probably like a 4-6 point run. And of course, they end up losing by 2, or I think by 2 or 3. It was they lost by 1 possession, and so they missed out on 2 shots plus the ball. And it's fourth quarter, it's late in the ball game, and I mean he's going crazy. I wasn't the official that did it, but I'm the R of the crew, and so I'm just taking the own this, coach. I completely understand we messed up, but I can't. That was my thought process when I was talking to the coach. I'm not going to penalize a kid or a team for our mess up. And
and sometimes we do have to penalize for our mess up, but I think I could that kid doesn't come on the floor unless I beckon them onto the floor. That's how I can and I would tell the coach that's the same thing I would do for your team. And he has every right to be belligerent. You have every right to be mad. I'm just not doing it.
Yeah, I had to sit there and take that. I just had to.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Take that.
Yeah. Thanks, Kenny.
Hey,
That's what I was looking for.
Hey, guys. Coach Jocklis has a question in the chat. Y'all want to tackle that one?
Yeah. Are we through with this one?
Hey, real quick, the rule covers it and covers you on both sides, really, because there's 2 spots in there where the rule talks about beckoned by the official. So the young man coming on was beckoned by the official. So like Kenny opened it and Reggie agreed mostly with it, is the officials have to eat that one because the young man was beckoned on. So even though it was bad timing, he was beckoned onto the court by the official. And I think what Reggie was getting at is you got to blow that whistle as soon as you realize the bad. and kill it and get back to right. But there's two different spots under substitution definition, and then the official doing a substitution was the player stays to the side until he's beckoned onto the court.
And the thing is, like you're saying, Frank, once you go to that coach, he can be irate. He's going to go look up the rule that night. But once we let it be known, coach, we beckoned him. That's why he can be mad at that moment, but he'll apologize later.
Yeah, that's a good answer too.
I'm still waiting on that apology, Mike.
What coach was it, Farron?
I ain't gonna drop names like that, but
Fair enough.
But always remember, though, you can't go wrong if you follow the rule. But in this situation, I think you can take care of it without having to enforce the rule. You know, because you're going to have those coaches that they know the rule, so they're going to be eating you alive. So you just got to be able to explain it very well.
Right.
So that next one, what do you guys do on that?
Okay, so any more on this subject?
Yeah, no.
Okay, Coach Jackwitz, you got it.
So we got some coaches in our district that get on the floor somewhat, a little bit. And we had a kid coming up the floor pretty hard in transition. There's a little bit of a collision. Ball goes out of bounds. No call. Ball went to the opposing team. Explanation I got was kid should have avoided the coach, even though he was on the floor.
No way.
Kenny, turn your camera off.
Wow.
I'm gonna tackle this.
Camera off. Turn your voice off.
Kenny, turn the other way and look up in the stands.
Who was in that game, Kenny?
No, I'm just reading Kenny's body. I know.
Coach, that's a
technical foul.
If he's out of his box,
let me have one, guys.
It's a technical.
If the coach is out of his box on the floor,
on the playing floor,
into him, we should have had a whistle.
And not for out of bounds.
And not for out of bounds. A technical foul should have been called. And then that coach has a direct technical, so he could still stand until he gets another one, or an indirect. But technical foul in that situation really should have been called.
What if, as the coach is on the floor, our kid dribbles towards him purposely and goes and there's a collision?
Now you're asking us to be mind readers. Purposely.
That's a smart kid.
That's a smart kid, and we would have to be able to judge that to show it's purposely, because, Coach, he's not supposed to be on the floor at all. So he's going to get a technical foul. And in the case that you gave us, that coach should have gotten a technical foul.
Yeah, I don't even know how we end up with turning the ball over.
No, especially turning the ball over.
Did they give an explanation?
Kid should have avoided him.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, he said that the player should have avoided the coach.
On the court.
On the court, which not a very good explanation. I don't believe.
No.
Well, I appreciate that.
So did you get run over?
No.
He lost the ball.
Hey, Marvin, can I come?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
I came in a little bit late, was in and out, making some phone calls, but this is where the confusion comes in at, because we're earlier talking about spirit of the rule, and then we said by rule, then another play we call it technical, another play we just preventive officiating, which I really like what Reggie talked about, how catch it before it happens, him and Kenny. But man, this is where it gets confusing at, because you have a play right here that's really clear cut, and you have coaches that are always on the court. Some are not, some are, and you guys are saying, hey, call a technical foul. Well, earlier you say, well, hey, let's go by the spirit of the rule versus how. That's confusing. So can somebody elaborate on that, please?
For me, this one's a safety issue.
Correct.
players are meant to be on the court, the coach is not. Because if that player gets injured or steps on that coach's foot or injures the coach, not on purpose, obviously, by accident, then, I mean, the rule is there to keep everyone safe. The coach is supposed to be in his box for everyone's safety. So that's where we should be.
And on these two scenarios, we have an official that has done something incorrectly within the rules versus a coach doing something not within the rules, because he's not supposed to be on the floor. So I can understand the confusion part of it, but this rule needs to be enforced. Of course, it wasn't enforced. Ball's turned over and it goes the other way. So there's a double penalty there for that team. In that situation, not only are they not awarded 2 free throws in the ball, but just by the violation itself, going back the other way.
And to answer PJ's question, there is gray in what we do. This is not it's not that black and white. And so that's why we talk about plays and scenarios, because things happen. That's why there's a case book, because things are going to happen in our games that just are, atypical, So that's what I mean by, the spirit, the spirit of that, of the rule. Right. So, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm just saying what I try to do is do the best job for the game possible.
Right.
And trying to stick as close to those rules as possible.
And our officials' duties tell us that sometimes there's things going to happen that we have to judge on that's not in the rule book. So we have to step out there and do that, and do it to the best of our abilities from all members of the crew to get things right, to make this a fair game for everybody.
Marvin, if I could just reference page 73, which is that chart on technical fouls towards coaches, whether it's indirect or direct. There's no gray area, Ken. It says unsporting act or conduct off bench or outside the box, assessed to the head coach, direct technical foul. He's not a player.
There was no question. There's no question in my mind what I'm doing. I mean, I didn't say that you wouldn't give a direct technical. I never said that.
I'm just saying.
He was talking about the play where the player was beckoning on the floor, and we changed it not to technical foul on the coach. He clearly stated earlier that he would have a technical foul.
Hey, Marvin.
Yes, sir.
Rather direct or indirect, does the seatbelt rule still happens, right?
Correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, if you assess a technical foul to the coach, he loses his privilege to stand up during the game, except for the exceptions in the rule book. Call a timeout, talk to his players, and go to the table for an issue where he thinks a correction needs to be made. Those are exceptions. Otherwise, they have to be seated. Does that help you, Coach Jackalix?
Yes, sir. That is awesome. I appreciate you guys.
We appreciate you. Thanks. Good question. Anybody got anything else? Reggie, got anything?
Hey, Marvin, I have one more.
Okay.
On that, I don't know who's on the DDR deal, but that week 5 play that they had with the coach walking down the inline because of the player control foul was called at the lead on the inline.
Yeah.
And the coach is going in on the trail. I just wanted to hear other people's take, because I tried to read the comments. I didn't see much in the comments as far as NFHS, how we would handle it. I don't know if anybody can input or not. I said at trail personally, if league calls that, so give context, players coming down in transition, lead's going towards the inline, he breaks through the inline barely, player gets ran over, he calls offensive foul. Trail barely makes it to the coach. The C is coming down, trailing the play as well to get in position. The lead doesn't stay. He immediately bolts after calling offense. He walks towards reporting. The coach is giving an earful to the trail. yelling at him as the leads all the way at the division line explaining. So then I don't know what he says, of course, because of the clip, but then the coach goes, the lead in the new trail, I mean the trail that's there, and the lead walk off to go across opposite table. The C actually comes and throws in the ball. I think that's like an NCAA rotation or something, I'm not sure. But when they bring in the ball, the coach leaves them two, and he walks all the way to the end line to the new lead, and he's still going off about whatever that play. And nothing happens in the play, and it asks, like, how would you adjudicate or how would you handle it? And I said at trail, I'm going to try to explain to the coach before I take off. But if there's no explanation, I'm going to get a coach a warning off the bat for his behavior before lead even gets there to take over or whatever or explain, just to help the play, because he already mad about the call. And then if he goes down from there to go to the end line, I think that's an automatic technical. That was just my opinion, but I don't know if anybody had anything to say about it.
Well, one thing, Michael, I'm not sure everybody would agree with me, but I don't like to use the word automatic anything when we're talking about rules. Because you have to judge something to do something versus a rule saying that this is going to happen, so it has to happen. So that using the word automatic. I don't know who watched that posted it, but I saw it today.
Lalo, go on mute. Lalo
needs to go on mute. But I watched that play today, and I thought a warning should have been issued very early in that scenario, and then as it continued, possibly a technical. But I only saw it today. I don't know if anybody else on here has looked at it yet, but yeah, the coach is very, very, very
Is everyone gone?
I don't think so. Who is that?
It's Lalo. I think it's Lalo.
Is who?
Lalo.
Lalo?
Yeah, I don't know what it's something keeps popping in and out. I don't know if he's doing something or what.
Oh, okay.
Sorry, I keep muting him, but he keeps unmuting.
Oh.
Keep unmuting.
Okay. All right. So I don't know. Like I said, I don't know if anybody else saw that. Have an opinion on it. But that coach was very adamant. I mean, he was bad, Michael. So, but you're right. He should have been assessed a warning very early in that play. And then as he continued, maybe even a technical foul.
Yeah, it didn't look like anybody even offered. If he was asking for it looked like he was asking for explanation. I mean, he was venting, yes, but nobody went to offer any type of.
Yeah. All three were trying to stay away from him.
Yeah.
Can I? So go ahead, Kenny.
No, go ahead, Marshall. I didn't know you was on. Go ahead, you take it.
No, I just got on. I didn't see the play.
Yeah, nor did I.
Given by Michael, but in that situation, as far as screwing up, being that lead made the call. If the warning would have came from Trail, that would have been great teamwork. If it was as bad as you guys say it was, one thing that Mike put in the chat, the term you used, Michael, and I don't know if you really meant it that way, but you shouldn't be. We should not try to explain other officials' calls. Because everybody has a different angle, a different look. So one thing you may want to do, if you could do preventive maintenance to where you don't have to give the warning and engage him. Hey, coach, you had a good look at it. When he gets an opportunity, you may want to ask him. Please don't yell at him. But if he's belligerent, let it be almost like you have no choice. The way Marvin was mentioning, the way it looked, that you have to warn him or attack him or whatever. And he basically put himself in that box. But if you're an avoidance referee, sooner or later you're going to have to deal with some situations. And it sounded like there was an opportunity for Trail to diffuse something and made it look like good teamwork. And that way it looks like good partnering up. We don't want the guy who had to call it to come 40, 50 feet to deal with that coach when that Trail is right there with the coach. And they say, Coach, we got the same view. I don't know if we have a good angle to say what happened on that play. So there's a lot of little things you could say or do, but you want to try to do things where you don't have to warn. And if you do have to warn, it almost calls itself. Thanks.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Just tear it, it levels up, right? So we don't have to go to automatically to a warn, because we could have engaged that and maybe diffused that so much earlier. So, and especially, and there's times where we might make a bad call. And so, and sometimes, and we know it. So sometimes we have to take a little bit of that heat, right? And, but we don't want to add fuel to that fire by automatically going, to that same level as that coach. If we try to remain calm and engage, then we're good.
Can I add one more thing about texts and warnings and any of those actions? If they don't improve the game, because those are things to bring the game back on the proper trail. And if it doesn't do that, then maybe there was something else we needed to do to handle the situation. If a technical foul or a warning or an ejection makes the game worse, now maybe because of the coach or because of us, but those things are supposed to improve the game. And they're just, and a lot of things with a warning is just a warning. And depending on the situation, the warning can be given in low breath, or it can be given hard to prove a point or to, communicate to that coach. I mean, either way, you're still gonna have to put it in the book. Thanks.
Very good point. Yep. Got anything else, Michael?
No, sir. That was good. Thank you all for your explanation.
All right,
I'm definitely
thank you very much.
definitely not okay, never mind. Michael saw it. I was saying I wasn't gonna comment on the call of my partner. I'm definitely not gonna try to explain it because I wasn't there. I wasn't even looking in that direction. So I had other responsibilities. I'm not gonna comment on that, but the coach, I definitely feel like, especially me being a new official, I appreciate those who I've worked with. I know PJ, Kenny, several of the veteran officials that would step in and make sure to take care of business as far as the coach. And I just feel like that coach got to be dealt with.
Looking at the film, I think the trail could have helped out because he could have just told the coach, hold on, coach, hold on. We'll get to you. Let us get this file reported and we'll get right with you. But that didn't happen on the film. Anybody got anything else they want to discuss? Reggie, Marshall, Kenny?
I'm good, thank you.
I'm good. Do we want to see that last clip? Will that last clip take us to our half hour?
For me.
Aaron, you got a clip?
Yes, sir, I do.
You want to throw one up there?
Try to make it bigger. Hold on. Sorry. Backwards. Guess it's as big
Man,
as
I wish all our games looked like that.
right?
Duncan Field.
What's that, Kenny? That's 4G.
That's like 7G, right?
All right, Reg, you want to break this down? Did Reggie leave us? Reggie.
He said Marshall, let Marshall do it because he got dial up.
Oh, he does?
Yeah.
Here we go.
AOL.
All right, Marshall, you want to break this down?
Yeah, thank you, Reggie. I really appreciate that. I know
Oh boy.
6 halftime is coming. It looks like this is one of those games where there's staunch evaluation. Let me say this before I go into it. Doing it right keeps you hired. Being nice and bending rules sometimes can get you fired or get you out of games. This is something, this play, whenever a player takes the ball, slaps the ball, puts the ball in somebody's chest, we have to address it. And in this environment with that type of play, the safe route, the best route is a technical foul. Can you roll it back? I just want to see how she put the ball in other girls. I mean, and you have to get in, and you have to get in between them. All right? She's had an opportunity. Go ahead. I mean, the horn I know is going off. See, we have to address that by 13 white. I mean, it was a physical play. I'm not going to call it a rough play, a physical play, a tie-up. If nothing else, if there's been nothing happen earlier between these players, you may want to just jump in and separate them. But I really got a problem with the girl putting the ball in the other young lady's chest or stomach, because usually what happens after that is a response, either a swing or elbow or something like that. And in this environment, it's a technical foul. I mean, run it one more time. It was choppy. Just
you got a response at the end right there.
yeah, you have to address it. Like I said, I have no problem. And you have to decide whether this is the end of the half. Are we starting the second half? If you tech them, are we starting the second half with a technical foul? Or is this part of the first half, in my opinion?
Part of the first half.
Yes, part of the first half.
Now, if you'll check, the official trailed her like she was going to address it, but she stopped. When they're leaving the floor, the official gets the ball and trails her like she's going to address it, but she stopped. Or she may have said something.
But she's going back up. She's going after the second action, not after the first action.
Exactly. There was a second action. The girl threw the ball back at her. And a lot of times we double tech people when we shouldn't. If we get the instigator, then the person that really caused the issue, because we can't expect people to be in this high emotional environment not to be responsive. We're asking a lot. She throws the ball back at her. It's got to be at least a double tech or a tech on 13.
Yeah.
You have to do that. I mean, I don't think there's any way around that you can just do a verbal warning, especially in this environment.
Anybody got anything different?
How are you adjudicating? Because it's after the horn, so first half is over.
That's what I was stating, Aaron. How you doing? Is this part of the first half, or are we starting the second half with a technical foul if we just put a technical foul on the initiator?
In this situation, it's part
first half is, go ahead, Marvin. Marvin, go ahead, I'm sorry.
In this situation, this is part of the second quarter. Just like at the end of the game, before you left the floor and they caught something, it would be part of the fourth quarter. So
that's my belief also. It's part of the first
here
half.
we would have, if we had called technical fouls, we would address them and take care of it before they go to the dressing room.
Yeah, absolutely.
See, I kind of disagree, because the second quarter has expired, then the technical foul took place, so you would start the third period with the application of the technical foul. It's not like the end of the game.
We covered this a couple of nights ago on the end of the quarters and at the end of the fourth quarter, when technical fouls are because Ben Rivers had a big question about it. But when it happens here in this situation, we haven't started the fourth quarter, so it's our third quarter. So this becomes part of the second quarter.
I had this happen in my game, and so it went into the, the application of the possession arrow also. So if I remember right, we got into the rule book. So we came out, shot the technical foul, and then the team got the ball with the possession arrow, which just happened to be the team that was supposed to get the ball coming out to start the third quarter. So they got the ball due to the possession arrow, and the possession arrow didn't change. And that's the way we applied it. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, maybe I misread the rule, and I could be wrong, obviously.
Aesthetically, it looks better as far as this game goes. I really like somebody to dig into the rule book and tell me what it is, but aesthetically, it would look better if you do it before they go into the locker room. Because when they come out and you shoot them free throws, because you're going to have to, you're going to, in all environments, you're going to have to go to that table, let them know that there's a technical foul, get it announced. So the worst thing you want is why are we shooting? What's going on? So you want them to announce that there was a technical foul. Let's back up. Do we all agree that it should be a technical foul?
Yeah, I can agree with that.
I got a question.
Go in the locker room, but then you're still going to come out and you're going to apply the possession arrow rule. You're going to give the ball to start the third quarter via the technical foul versus.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Reggie.
All right, I'm in agreement with Brad Lockhart, and here's why. Okay, let's say that let's take this scenario out, and let's say the players, the second half has ended. Players are going to their benches, right? Now they have to go in the same direction to get to their locker room. And let's say something happens to where you have a technical foul in that situation. Okay, are we going to bring the players back out on the court and shoot the free throws? Or are we going to go to halftime and come back and shoot free throws? We're going to go to halftime and come back and shoot the free throws, right? So it's the same situation. The second quarter has ended, right? The girl tosses the ball. There's a technical foul. We report the technical foul. We explain how we're going to resume play to start the second half, right? And we shoot the free throws at the start of the second half.
Yeah, and Reggie, I wanted to add this, Reggie.
Technical foul.
Because this is actually, I don't know if the fourth quarter is different than the second quarter, but if this happened at the end of the game and the score was tied, we would not end the game with them shooting free throws.
That's a totally different situation.
That's different. You're absolutely correct, Marshall.
We would start the overtime. Yes, that's what I'm saying. We would start the overtime with the free throws if we assessed just the one technical foul.
Correct.
I don't know why it would be different in the second quarter.
Hey, Reggie, Marshall, I got a question for you. Are you guys going to go with a double technical foul here, since one player put the ball in the stomach and then another player threw it at her? Or are you going to just go with a single technical foul here?
Me personally, Sadiq, how you doing, bro? Me personally, I'm getting the first one. I mean, you can say you have no right to do it, but I say you started it.
Well, how about instead of getting it, Marshall, let's go back to what you initially said, and let's address it.
That's what I'm saying. It has to be addressed one way or another. But I'm saying in that environment, in any environment, I just don't like when they snap the ball out their hand and all of that. To me, those are automatics. Because those are what starts fights.
Okay, thanks.
That's just my opinion, Sadiq.
So I have a question. Did we agree then that we're going to shoot these free throws before both teams go to halftime?
We need to look up the rule book. It's not an aesthetics thing. It's what the rule book says.
I think it is. I think it's you start the third quarter with. I strongly believe you start the third quarter with the.
You start the third quarter with the shots and the ball.
Yeah.
It's the end of the quarter.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
That's just like the first quarter. If the first quarter has ended, the coach comes out and complains. You hit the coach with a technical foul. You shoot the free throws, right? It's the same scenario.
Yeah, I agree.
Shoot the free throws and the second quarter begins.
I agree.
Yeah, when it happened on my game, the coach was not too happy that we were giving the opposite team the ball due to the technical foul, and then keeping the possession arrow in their direction also. I just had to explain to him that that's why we're putting the ball in play to start the third quarter, but she wasn't very happy about it.
Knowing Miss Marshall, she would have probably said, if she was evaluating that game, that there needed to be something done on that play. You can't ignore it.
In this scenario, though, you do want to notify the coaches prior to going into their halves and their huddles.
Absolutely.
But we will be starting the second half with technicals and what will be happening.
And you should also, in that environment, have the PA announcer say, also do it.
Control the PA. Hey, Marster, also, do you think the lead, she came in pretty good? I know she didn't use the new mechanic, which was if she had a held ball, but the clock was on 0, so I don't know why she had a held ball. She didn't stop the clock and then go with the held ball. However, I thought she did a great job of getting off that end line and getting in there real quick just in case something happened. I didn't see her other officials help her out, but I thought she did a great job of getting off the baseline.
Did she really go in there? I don't know. Did she really go in there?
That's what I saw.
No, I don't think that's presence. Now, she went after the team. See, she went after as somebody mentioned earlier, she went after the young lady in black. She didn't say anything to 13 in white. Look at her. Run it again.
God bless you.
Yeah,
and I don't know that she saw 13 in white push the ball into the black. What I was going to say. Sure.
Now roll it back and let's look at what C is looking at. What is C?
Ability to come in and help her with that.
I think C has the best angle to get the first one.
The first one, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, Marshall. But the second one, the lead has all the way.
Well, everybody has it.
Well, not so sure what my trail's doing because I don't see him anywhere. But
yeah, that's what I'm saying. You've got those are almost automatics because 13 fails, nobody did anything, so I'm throwing the ball back at her.
Yeah.
If you look at the
If you would have hit her with a tech right then and there,
there was nothing done either.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, somebody, whoever that was.
I just said if right there towards the end when you see all that, all the girls all in white going back to the bench, coach feels that there was nothing done either. She feels the coach comes on complaining on the court.
Because again, they're stacked. Nobody can see that first action because they're all C backs, so they can't see her player shove the ball into her chest.
I think C can.
C can. I
don't think lead can.
C can see it. Go ahead, Tony.
Isn't looking
Go ahead, Tony.
at the play though. C is worried about ending the quarter and looking towards the table.
Right now, can I go back for a second? We have a tie up. Don't know the quarter's over.
I got you. I see it.
Where should hindsight 2020? Where should she have her eyes focused, knowing that we just had this tie-up? I mean, that's a question.
Not getting the ball.
On the players.
Exactly. These are two players engaged. Okay, our spider sense is supposed to start tingling. But she's
by Mark's comment. Antennas up, going those two players. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, knowing that they were engaged and a held ball, and one rips it away, 13 white, then goes back and puts it in her stomach because her momentum took her away from the girl. Then she went back and put the ball in her, and that should have been enough to say, whoa, what's going on? And usually, even though trail is not in the picture, being they the furthest away, they probably had the bird's eye view of everything.
Okay, we ready for the answer?
Go ahead, Frank.
In this case, it would carry over and the third quarter would start if a single technical foul is called.
Yeah.
It would carry over to the third.
Yeah,
the
I would
only
apply what I would do
exception,
at the end of the game.
the only exception is your end of game may have a different because it may determine the outcome of the game. Because you have to adjudicate before. If it's a double technical, then you administer it, it's booked, goes point of interruption, you come back out, third quarter and go to the arrow.
Hold on,
That's point of interruption.
Let me ask you a question, because I want to make sure it's a reading of zeros on the clock. Then we have a technical foul. Are you saying if the score is tied, we're going to shoot free throws to determine who wins?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay.
Because if
Yep.
it's a
When the free
fine
throws
print in
make
there, at the end, there is a difference at the end of the game before going to an extra period.
So
But
it's
in
not
this,
the score is tied. We got to read in the zeros, and we don't start the extra period with the free throws?
No.
After a reading of zeros?
Correct.
Okay.
Matter of fact, there's 2 case plays in there, I think, that gets a technical on the coach because he gets irate.
Yep, and page 115 in your topics book.
Great.
But in this scenario right here, if a single technical foul is called, you will start, as I think Brad adjudicated his, you start the third quarter, and I think everybody else included in there, you want to talk to the coaches beforehand if possible, PA and whoever it is, so it's crystal clear what you got coming out. Before you even leave the court, you know what's coming out.
Yeah, and I just don't think there's enough to get a technical foul there for me. That's just my personal opinion. I mean, I'm addressing the behavior, and I think she does look at 13 initially, and then tries to get to the other ones, and maybe even start the fourth quarter or the third quarter by talking to the captains if you feel like you have to do more. But I think it's just a different, a differing opinion.
Yeah, it's a judgment thing. I just know that if you throw,
it has to be addressed.
If somebody threw the ball at somebody.
So I'm sorry, Kenny, which act are you saying is not needing a technical? I'm just
I don't think either of those. We had a tussle for the ball. We have somebody place it, throws it back. I don't think that warrants. It doesn't meet the level for me, in my judgment, for a technical foul. It bears addressing, but just not to me, not a technical.
So you're saying it's an unsportsmanlike act. It's just not to the level of a technical?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's unsportsmanlike, yeah, but not to the level of a technical foul. I've seen worse than that and that not addressed. And I don't care where we are. To me, and again, to me, it does make a difference where we are in this game. That's a huge game. It's emotional. We had a tie up. If we had no tie up, and that happens on like, I don't know, maybe something happens. She catches the ball, then she sticks it in her craw. But it's a pull. It's a pull and a pull. So in my opinion, it just didn't get my antennas enough to give a technical. And I'm not saying that you guys are wrong for doing it. I'm just telling you from my opinion, I'm not going technical.
If the official had been able to get in there to prevent the action of throwing back the ball, then you probably could have gotten away. But because of this is the reaction the throwing the ball caused, I don't think we can not address it.
I just don't know if an official can get in that. I think you're putting your fingers up, and for us to, I mean, it's 0.5 seconds. 0.5 seconds just happened, right? We don't have that kind of time. It was 0.6 seconds when the rebound was taken.
Yeah, but it's after 0.6 though when all of this altercation occurred.
So what she does though when she blows her whistle is she looks away from the players, correct? So she does jump and loses sight of the players. We should never look away from the players. You do your jump ball signal. Don't worry about where direction we're going. Watch the players. That's the action, because this is what happens when we lose the action.
Yeah, I don't think she loses sight of the players. She can't see through them. It's the C's responsibility to step in. She's got the open look.
Can I add on to what you said?
I totally agree with you there.
Can I muddy the water just a little bit? The C's hand doesn't go up to show that time has expired. The C doesn't give any signal except a wave off at shoulder height after the ball has been retrieved, after the lead has walked up into the paint. If the C had been doing approved mechanics, there would have been a hand in the air, which would have at least stopped and said, hey, we got an explanation coming here, and it's not from the total responsibility of the lead looking through the backs of two players.
Hey, Kenny.
Yeah, Russ.
Yeah, I'm going to go back to what you were saying. And I agree with you as far as rising to the level. That's part of that gray area that you're talking about. But I would also add on to that formula is that if we've had it, these teams and these particular two players throughout the first half going at each other aggressively, right? Going at each other aggressively with marginal outside of the lines type of plays, right? Then that scenario is different.
I agree. I agree with
Then
that.
we would definitely have to because we got to come back to the second half with those same two players. So we need to send a message that type of behavior is no longer allowed.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hey, Reggie, when you're talking about gray areas, with this being a state semifinals game, does that change anything or no?
With the state finals, I am going to make sure that everybody in the gym sees me addressing it.
Right. Okay.
Right?
Thank you.
Seeing me address, even if I have to call both of the players, they're going to the halftime, right?
Totally
even if I have to call both of those players back before they leave the court and talk to them, everybody's going to see me talking to those two players, right? So when I have those two players in the same sort of situation and I hit them, everybody in the gym, everybody in the arena knows why I'm giving technical fouls.
So are you kind of seeing, so I guess with Marshall and Kenny, would you say it was necessary to give the technicals, or probably what Kenny's saying?
I am saying we have to address those two
somehow,
players.
right? Okay,
right.
Thank you.
Yeah, we have to address them.
Hey, Reggie, can I chime in? I agree with Aaron's take on this.
Can I ask a question? Go ahead, PJ.
I'm sorry, Marshall. You want to go? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, PJ, because I've been talking.
Oh, yeah, I agree with Aaron's take on this. As far as something needs to be escalated. I watched this game. This is the finals. This is not the semifinals. And there was plays that happened before where a smaller team was dominating a bigger team. The team that was smaller is in the dark uniforms. They were dominating a bigger team and being even more physical than the players who are taller and bigger. So the team, the Cypress Creek, was getting a little frustrated here. So this is a reaction to some other stuff that was happening in the first half. So that's some background context for you guys. Also, I think putting the ball in the stomach, I think they should have had a better job of team officiating, like Bill Savicki talked about. To see she was wiping off a shot, and I don't know what she's doing, but she's just doing the college mechanic of wiping something that's not there. She should have put her hand up to stop the clock, like Bill said, proper mechanics, and then stepped down and stepped in. And you got a competitive matchup. You had 4 players there on the rebound. And she would have seen the stuff in the stomach, the ball being stuffed in the stomach that the lead did not see because the lead is straight line. Then, like everyone said, everyone sees the bounce back and hit, the retaliation on that. I just thought it should have been addressed. Even if it's addressed with a warning, that's fine. Or if it's addressed with a double technical, that's fine. However you want to do it, but it's going to be addressed and should have been addressed. So I just want to mention that.
I just want to add, by PJ in that context, that really tells me that needed, in my mind, okay, 2 things. We always talk about beat the tape, protect yourself as officials, and call the game. Tell me in any game where we allow put a ball at another player and we don't deal with it. You have to protect yourself in these plays. The more I look at this, more I'm going double tech because they were separated and she knew she was throwing the ball back at her. That's why that ref went at her. I disagree with Kenny. Respectfully, my brother, my friend, my co-referee for 20-something years, that's a tech. I got a daughter.
It's okay if we disagree.
Somebody would have thrown the ball at her when she was playing. But I respect Kenny. That's his, hey, and that's why this refereeing is so, like I said, it ain't black and white. It's subjective. It's like an English paper. But we do have, it's kind of hard to get away with this without some type of technical foul, something being done. Because somebody threw the ball at another player.
But it all goes back to one word. Judgment. And what the officials judged when they saw it. And we're all going to be different.
Yep.
Many times in our judgment.
Yeah, it's judgment. It's judgment, and it's gauging the temperature of the room.
Correct.
Now, can I add one more thing to this?
No.
No. PJ, say this. No, this is very important. This is very important. Say this to me and PJ, and I don't think it should be a tech. And PJ does tech him. I can't go in the locker room and jump on PJ. That's PJ's judgment. Agreed. He felt technical foul, then that's his judgment. I can't say, PJ, that's not a tech. And I know we've all done that. If PJ feels, sorry, PJ, if you don't mind me using it as an, if PJ feels it's a technical, out of respect to him as a co-official, we have to go with that. Because if you don't, you're gonna go out with that on the court. And this is me just saying, trying to be a better partner. That's all I wanted to say, Marvin.
And Marvin, one last thing. I'm sorry, don't kill me. Kenny brought up a good point. He was talking about how would it be handled in the context of the actual game itself and different regions. This particular play where I'm at now, they ain't calling nothing. It will be addressed. I think Mingo was the strongest on this, and he was saying, "Hey, you're making a mountain out of a molehill." That's the way it will be addressed here. You might say something to the coaches or assistant coaches to help you out, but it wouldn't be a technical foul on this play in the region that I'm in there. Just so you're aware of that.
Okay, so can we all agree that at least it needs to be addressed?
Yes.
Agree. Yeah. Quickly.
All right, good. So we all agree on that. How it should be addressed, we got some differences. But I think our time is run out, right, Aaron?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir, it has.
Okay, so thank everybody for being on. Thank everybody for your input. Really appreciate it. So with our time expired, we'll go ahead and close this out. And thank Coach Jackless for joining us tonight. And y'all continue to stay and be safe. Hope to see y'all soon somewhere.
All right, y'all be safe.
Good night. Be safe. Thanks, Coach.
Bye.